All right, and we're live. Hello, love. So, this is going to be the POC book club discussion for Elatsoe. This was I believe it was the December-January pick. Normally, we would do the live show in February, but I'm going to be doing exclusively like reading books and posting content exclusively around Black authors and Black books and stuff. So we've pushed this up a little bit early, and I'm really excited. This is kind of a bonus because I'm trying not to do book club stuff in December moving forward. But yeah, I am really, really excited about this. For those of you watching the replay of this, hi, welcome. I would love to hear from you along with everybody who is joining. But we're going to talk about no spoilers in the beginning, and then I will announce when we jump into the spoilers for this book. So first off, hello everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. It's really fun to be talking with you guys about this book. Before we get into it, I would love to hear your ratings. Did you finish the book? What were your thoughts? I guess, like, what star ratings did you give it? I would love to hear that, and I will explain to everybody what this is all about. Now, first off, I did not know what this was about. Like, I didn't. I just knew that everybody was loving this book. So I was all like, yeah, I'm interested in that. You know, we've got some Native American heritage in here, and there's a girl, and I think there might be some whimsical stuff. I think like that was tops what I knew. I didn't realize that we were actually reading a kind of murder mystery sort of situation going on here. So yeah, that was a pleasant surprise. And yeah, I guess I just didn't know what to expect, but I personally really enjoyed it. So we have our main character, Elle, or Elatsoe, who has a power where she can pretty much I guess, resurrect, communicate with ghosts. And she very specifically has a ghost dog, which right off the bat we get into and we see. So that was a lot of fun. And then there is a death that ends up happening. And pretty much the book moving forward is her trying to uncover what happened with this death and kind of uncover the mystery and all of that stuff. And we learn a lot about the world and the magic and the lore and all of that. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun for me. I would, yeah, again, love to hear what everybody else thought of the book if you guys read it, or if you haven't, I would love to know as well, so that I can get an idea of whether or not, like, how soon we should go into the spoilers. Now, Elatsoe, I believe she is 17 in this. So this is a YA, and there are several I guess like characters in here that we're experiencing. We have her friend who my brain is going blank of what to talk about without it being spoilers. Like, part of me's just like, I want to go in. um but yeah, so we have her friend. I did tab it. I didn't actually do a full on annotating for this. I just did some tabs of things that I wanted to like discuss and talk about. There are some, I guess, like racial situations that we find our character in. So I ended up tabbing those because I thought that was even though it wasn't like a big part of the story necessarily, although it does weave into everything, it was something that does pop up and was kind of important. So I ended up tabbing all of those in pink. And then I have just like general interesting things, which we will go through, that I ended up tabbing in a dark purple. And those were really the main colors. I technically had like a random blue tab, but I think that fits with the purple one. I can't really remember what it was for, which is funny because I actually listened to this today. I wanted it to be super fresh in my mind. So I finished it this morning. And then I was like, nope, you can't read anything else until after the live show because I wanted it to be super fresh. But yeah, so that is kind of, I guess, the spoiler free version of all of this. I guess now it makes sense to start actually getting into the spoiler bits. I think in the future, I don't know. I might try and get a guest host for a future episode because maybe we might have a little bit of back and forth to have more non-spoilery stuff. But for me, I just really want to get in. I want to talk about the spoilers. So I'm sorry, this part is usually a little bit on the short side. I loved it. Oh, I guess I didn't say that. But I ended up loving it. I think I gave it 5 stars. Like chef's kiss. It was a good time for me. So yeah, actually let me check right now. I know I see that there are a few people here in the chat. I guess I should lower, but I don't know if I'm having okay, yeah. I just wanted to make sure that there weren't any issues with being able to see the chat here because I'm on StreamYard. But okay, so on to the spoilers. Where to begin? So we have her cousin. Actually, maybe I could like go through some of the parts that I ended up tabbing. So like I said, the illustrations were fun. I did feel like this character, who I'm not sure if it's supposed to be her great aunt, six grand, I think, grandmother, or if it's supposed to be Elatsoe. It kind of felt like it was supposed to be Elatsoe, but regardless, the character looked very, very young, and the illustrations didn't seem to necessarily match up with what was happening, but they were fun to see. I don't know if anybody felt otherwise with it. I did listen to the audiobook, but I had the book with me so that I could like tab stuff and follow along and see all of the illustrations. And I thought, I don't know, I think that's really nice. I think this is a nice hardcover copy because even it's got a cute little design on the naked hardcover. And yeah, I just think it's nice, and it's the standard edition and everything. But there were several things that kind of talked about struggles that Native Americans have. Our character Elle, she's a darker Native American, and obviously that does mean that people notice her. She stands out. There's like a moment where she's talking about her friend, who I guess he's I don't know if he was just like light skinned or if he's just, like a white boy or whatever. It is mentioned, and I did notice that, but I don't actually remember the details. But throughout, obviously, and again, it wasn't a huge part of the story, like it wasn't the focus, but obviously it's part of her life, and it does tie in with some of the things that happen in the story. So I did start, marking down some of the ones that I ended up seeing. And one of the things, right? So her cousin ends up getting also, hello everybody who's joining. Thank you for joining us. Let me know in the comment or in the chat what your ratings was for the book. Love to hear that. But so one of the things that we know was her cousin, who at this point, I don't know if this point we know yet that he's been murdered, if he's talked to her or not, but we know that, something's happened and that he's died. And they point out that the justice system was imperfect. Many crimes remain unsolved, especially violence against natives. And I was like, okay, that's a really good point. And that pushes the focus onto why this character would want to, join in on this little mystery investigation. And I don't know, it's just kind of a sad truth, unfortunately. And then I guess, let's see, the purple ones are the things that I really wanted to talk to you guys about. Let's see. Oh yeah. So one of the things, okay, this is a me thing. I don't know if this is true for other people, but like I struggle with YA books because I'm a 32-year-old woman. I, have adult deals, like I just cannot relate to certain things that happen in YA books. I tend to read a lot of them regardless, right? Like I'm attracted to the covers and the way that they're marketed and all of that. I pick up so many YA books, but there are certain tropes that I'm really frustrated with. That being said, I feel like the first thing I tabbed was a YA trope that I'm not a big fan of, but I don't think it was done poorly, right? I actually really liked the parent-child relationship that was happening in here, right? Because right off the bat, she goes to her parents. I think it's specifically the conversation with her dad, and she's like, this is going on. Cousin came to me and told me that this thing happened, and her dad's all like, I believe you. Like, no questions, nothing. He's just like, I believe you. I'm on your side. And I really appreciated that because I'm always so frustrated with the parents being the thing that gets in the way of the story happening. But in this case, I think she had fallen off of the bridge trying to help her friend, and they had just gone into the water. She's covered in filth and all of that stuff. And she gets home. Her dad had tried calling her, but her phone was dead. He's mad. And so she ends up saying, all things considered, a fight about responsibility was the last thing she or her father needed. And I was just like that. I don't know. It was just funny because like I read this whole scene and I'm like, usually this takes me off. Like I'm not a fan of this, but like I was here for it. Like I was fine. Anyway. But yeah, so there are a lot of things in the story that I really enjoyed. Elisa TV. The friggin' later on when her and her dad, again, I loved that he was on her side and was all like, oh, you're going to come to try and investigate what happened. That's okay. You can come with us. That will be something that we do. Loved that. And then on their way there, she's going, they stop and she goes to get a fossil. And she's like, I will never turn down free money when her dad offered. I was like, that's cute. That's such a kid thing to do. But then she goes in there and this is another situation where it just kind of shows discrimination and having to deal with it. And I really appreciated that even though she had to deal with that, I feel like there was a mention of, like somebody in her family kind of telling her like, it's not worth the effort or whatever of trying to like fight up against that in a lot of situations. And so the way that she dealt with it, it was sad, like it's upsetting, but like she had a positive outlook. I guess that's what it was. Like you can't control other people. You can only control how you like deal with the situation. They didn't say that exactly, but that's like a a thing that a lot of people talk about. And that's something that I myself try, as someone who hates injustice in general and who can get really angry when things are unfair. Seeing a character who is like really good about, I guess not letting things necessarily get to her. I don't know. She was very mature for her age. Anyway, so the person is being a jerk about her coming in, and she's basically got the like, I got my eyes on you. And I love how her response was, what, do I need to sign a release form to be on your TV show, since the lady was letting her know that there is a camera on her. And I was like, go Elle. like that lady was crap. And then when she was buying the fossil after all of that, and she friggin' was just all like, hey, can I get a receipt? And the girl was all like, that's fine, but you can't return it anyway. And she was like, I know. And then when she goes to buy her drink or whatever, and the lady's like, did you buy that? And she was like, I did. And she puts down the dollar bill and to pay for the new thing along with the receipt for the thing. And I was like, the fact that she had to like think about that in advance. And like, don't get me wrong, like I'm the same way. Like when I'm leaving a store, I'm all like, I have my receipt. like don't worry. I don't come at me, because like I know like that's a thing where people will like follow you around or assume that kind of stuff. So like seeing that was just like, I don't know, a nice touch, I suppose. But yeah, there were so many things. I would love to hear any parts that you guys really enjoyed in this book as well, if you enjoyed it, right? Because I know some people, maybe this wasn't their thing. I loved it. 5 stars for me. But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts. I see several people coming in. So welcome to the chat. But yeah, so oh, the other thing, her dog, Kirby, he kept like not necessarily like foreshadowing thing, but I really liked that he was an element in the story to let you know when things weren't quite not the way they seem, but when danger was afoot. And like that was literally like we start off the story, he's freaking out, she knows something's wrong, and she goes to make sure that her family is okay, only to discover that something bad happened to her cousin, right? And that was all from the dog Kirby. And now in this situation, they're on their way to I guess to her cousin's family, and they're passing by the place where the guy who supposedly murdered her cousin, well, I mean, like he did, but at this point, supposedly murdered her cousin, and the dog barks. Like they get close to the place, and the dog starts barking, and then she's like, like, let's get out of here. Like it's dangerous. And I just really like that element. Oh, I want to see. Can I? Oh, I can. Does that pop up? Oh, hey, me learning the tools. So it's been a couple of years since I read this book, but it was a favorite the year it came. Yes, 5 stars for sure. I'm like a big fan, big fan. But yeah, so what's another? Here I am. I'm just literally going through my tabs because there were so many things that I really liked. I really liked Kirby. Kirby was a really great character. I have another one of Kirby. I think there's actually more to it, but I don't want to like spend a bunch of time just like reading, trying to remember exactly why I tabbed in. Like making for great content here. just me reading the book. No, we're not doing that. Okay, so then we have escape, wholesome hiding. I don't actually know what this one is. Flip flop. Oh, is this the part where she ends up going into the underworld? I thought that was a good element of the story as well. Also, it was beautiful. Tell me that wasn't visually stunning. Her sitting, I think she was at a park when it happened, and she was she was thinking about I don't even know how to say this. Let's not butcher this dinosaur name. But she's thinking about this, little thing, something pod. Those of you who just read it, it's like, I know what you're talking about. You're bad at this. My bad. And then, more of them pop up, and then you get like the underwater creatures and all of that. Like that was such a beautiful scene. I think that was a great way to kind of show the idea of the underworld. But question, wondering if like you guys feel the same way. Like if it really was the underworld, why was it only, and I mean, maybe it's just because that's what she was thinking about, but like, why was it only the like prehistoric creatures and all of these sea creatures and all of this stuff? Like, why weren't there like people and stuff as well? Because it doesn't seem like they don't exist in the underworld or, like as ghosts and stuff, even though the whole thing had to do with like they don't come back themselves because I guess they're smarter. I don't know 100% how I feel about that, like as a blanket statement, but I did at least appreciate that when her cousin came back, he, it wasn't him, it was something else that was coming back on his behalf to, seek vengeance or whatever. I thought that was a nice element, but I kind of wish there was another thing I wish I got more of, but that's at the end. So yeah, me jumping around. But I thought that was a really nice element. I guess let's skip some more of the, I guess the like racist things that she had to deal with and go to some of the other things. Okay. So another element that was really nice, which then ties into what we uncovered. Okay, sorry, jumping all over the place. So I will admit I do kind of like going in and not reading, but marking off the areas to talk about, because at least I'm being linear about talking about the story for the most part, because usually I come on here and I'm all like, oh, this thing at the end, oh, this thing at the middle, oh, this thing at the beginning. Like I'm just all over the place. So hopefully this keeps us on track. And again, for those of you popping in, welcome. Hi, let me know if you've read this or not. We're talking about Elatsoe. Hopefully you saw by the thumbnail. And let me know your rating in the chat section, because yeah, I really want to know how people felt about it. What was your favorite part of the story? I know we have some people here that haven't read it recently. If you read it recently, or if you remember, let me know. But yeah, really enjoyed this book personally. So after that, I guess we have something about pets. Oh yeah, okay. So we have the idea, how do we even say it, so that this ability was something that is trainable, and that it has to be focused on animals, because trying to bring back people has different problems, and you have to understand this and all of that stuff. Like there's responsibilities. And then also the idea of there being, oh, I think I may have skipped that part, but there being a dark side to everything. So the reason why is because bringing back people has a dark side, and that being a hint at what happened to her cousin, right? I really liked the fact that we learning the us learning the magic system and the world and all of that was also really nicely tied into us uncovering the mystery and learning clues and stuff about what actually happened. Okay, so we have, I loved Ellie explaining the world dynamic, how indigenous folktale creatures were disappearing as Euro folktale creatures were taking over. Yes. And then her using her lineage to expel a vampire. Yes, that scene was fire, right? Because it's true. Like when they said that and he was like, what did you do to me? I was all like, that's such a strong commentary, one, just in general, like a huge reminder of where we're living and like whose land we've taken from, but then also like tying into that lore, the idea of vampires are not able to be on in somebody else's home without being invited, and then her being all like, this is my home, or her and her mother, I believe, being like, this is my home, you're not invited, and that immediately negatively affecting the vampire and them having to leave or else die, because I think he was all like, you're killing me or something like that, and it was just all like, that was so good. I did think, side note, or I guess this just reminded me, I did think that the vampire element was a little bit random. But I guess at the same time, it's kind of cool that it was tied into the story as well. But I guess because it was there, I kind of wish there were other things a little bit more prevalent. Although I think there was something about a bat creature. So like, maybe I'm just being picky. I loved the like coyotes. I thought that was a cool element being tied in. Another thing that ended up getting me was the storytelling. So I really liked how throughout the whole thing, storytelling was an element. And I'm pretty sure I have it tabbed here, because there's a moment where they're in like a dire situation, and I think her mom is telling a story to explain something, and they're trying to speed it along. And she's like, storytelling is important, like I can't, because the act of telling a story is so important. And I was just all like, well, that's a really nice message as well. But I will say something that did kind of throw me off, and part of it was probably because I was like listening to the audiobook, and at those moments I wasn't necessarily reading along. But some of the times when we would go back and be talking about her grandmother and the heritage and those stories and stuff like that, Ellie would interject, and it would throw me off, and I would get really confused because I'd be like in the past, and then all of a sudden, we'd have like present day things, and I'm like, where are we? And then we'd like switch to the present day. So that did throw me off a little bit a couple of times, but I feel like it probably wouldn't have been an issue if I like was reading with my eyeballs at that time, because I think one of them I had like picked up the book while it was happening, and then I was like, oh, okay, that's what's going on. But in general, I really, really liked the storytelling aspect throughout the whole story. And then also because, we had the danger of bringing people back. And oh, I guess. Oh, but even reading the book physically, it throws me off. Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one who struggled with that one, because I was just all like, oh, yes, we're hearing the story. And then she'd be like, I would never do that. And I'm like, wait, what? Oh, it's present day. But yeah, so we also had oh, nope, lost my train of thought. I was just trying to go back and I realized that thought ain't here anymore, sis. Oh, her I guess she would be cousin-in-law. So her cousin's wife. So the idea that, it's taboo basically to resurrect the dead, or even to, call on their ghosts and stuff like that. And then her obviously dealing with her own grief, wanting to go against that, even though, she's being warned against that. I thought that that was a good touch. That's something that you like see a lot in different scenarios. It makes sense, grief, that you would want to do things despite knowing better, pretty much, especially if you're not somebody who actually deals with that. Like I was like, that's the first thing I wanted to do when I found out, but I knew otherwise. And then having that lead to her doing things that were, I don't know if that necessarily like questionable, like going and trying to like dig him up and like not burying him with the things that were important for him to like pass on peacefully. And, obviously trying to convince her to bring him back and all of that stuff. So I think that that was an interesting element to include. I think it was a good part of the story as well. But I me trying to like follow this thought through. I will say thank you again for everybody who's hanging out with me here. But like, man, can these things be nerve-wracking sometimes, because I'm trying to be as concise. When I do the vlogs 100%, there are moments where I'm just like silent, trying to like get back on time. So because I talk so fast, so sometimes I talk like faster than my brain can. Anyway, but yeah, so that being a part of the story, and then obviously the baby bringing back the dad, that was a nice element as well. Although I kind of wish oops, sorry, I knocked the screen. I wish there was more. Like there were several things that were kind of brought up that I wanted more of, because it was only hinted at just that bit, and then like nothing. Like we get that the baby has a connection and like that could lead to something, but obviously we didn't get any more of that. You're good. I do this. Thank you. Thank you. But yeah, we totally get you. Hello. Thank you. Yes. The book could easily have been a series. Yes. 100%. Like there's part of me wanted to be like, are we gonna get more? Are we? Because like there were different moments. Like you had the baby was one. You have all of these different things with the obviously ancestors. That's a bit that we can a bunch that we can get from as well. And then there's also at the very end, I guess I'm just going to jump to it because at this point I'm not following the tabs anymore. But at the very end, when Kirby comes back, he brings that doll, right? The little squeaker doll, whatever. And they're like, did he bring this back from the, like underworld? And they're like, I don't know. And then it's over. And I'm like, wait. Book 2. Like I don't think we've heard anything about another one coming out, but like I was like, that could be something. Give me more. Yeah. Also, the friggin' time thing that happened when they were at the guy's house, that was another thing that really, like, I want to know more about that element. We had, her parents and the friend's sister in that room while her and her friend go to find the vampire. Oh my goodness. But trying to find the vampire, and I love how I'm like visually trying to tell you where things are. Like I know, so I don't know. But like they're inside the house, they go down the back. The vampire coming, who was also native. That was a good twist. Him being a like, actually, like, this is my home. And I was just so like, oh, like we saw them get away with that for the other vampire, and then having one just be like, nope, you can't, that can't always be the case. That was good. That was gold. But then yeah, they go down there, they do all of that stuff. She has some stuff with the mammoth. That was a cool element. And then when they meet at like time did a weird thing. And it did a weird thing for both of them, right? So we saw it with Elatsoe first, and they're like, oh, I don't know what happened. Now it's like nighttime already, even though like 10 minutes passed. And then the same with the mother. Like they kept looking at their watch and it was only like 10 minutes. And then she's telling the story, which definitely wasn't like several hours long. And then all of a sudden it's nighttime. And she's like, what happened? I really want to know. Like, give me a series, explain some of this stuff. I really want to know. And then I will say, figuring out, right? Because mystery, we're trying to find out what happened to the cousin. Like, that's the big thing. We find out that the crash site was different from where they found him, right? We're uncovering all of this stuff. We know from her friend's aunt, I think, the one who has like psychic abilities, basically. We find out that there were two people in pain, right? Whenever whatever happened, two people in pain. He found somebody in pain. He wanted to help, and then he couldn't. He never got around to it because Mr. Selfish, my life is more important than other people, even though, like I'm a daredevil kind of guy, a reckless kind of guy. Find out that he has a special ability. And as Elatsoe said earlier, things tend to have consequences. Like, it's not, there's a dark side, a reverse side. I think they mentioned it more in consequences. I guess I'm not 100% sure how they were like saying it, but like basically it's like there's a flip side to things. Not everything is all peachy keen. The fact that she can, deal with ghosts isn't 100% a positive thing. There are negatives. And so learning that, like, oh yeah, he has the ability to basically fix people. Well, he doesn't just fix people, he transfers that over to somebody else. So he healed himself by giving his problem to her cousin and then killed him, like purposefully killed him because he figured his life was better than her cousin. And I just that was such a cool thing. Like, I saw that, I was just like, like I literally gasped when that reveal, that twist was given to us. I don't know if like other people felt really strongly about that as well, but like me, that hit me hard. I was just all like, man, like, one, that's cool, that explains a lot. Like, it had me going. And then the fact that the whole town was in on it. So when, like, I will say, as much as like not a fan of the ghost or whatever coming in her cousin's place, because he was kind of not fully a ghost. Like, he wasn't him. It was something else, but it was kind of him. Like, it was through, based on, created from his anger or something. Him coming in and like doing justice basically on the town, there was a little part of me that was here for it, even though I was also just like, no, don't kill innocent people. But also like the whole town is got, like, if it didn't take his kid to be like the sacrifice and just took a random person from the town who was like part of the whole thing, who was totally okay with that, man, I would have been like, yeah, let him. I feel bad because I know like that's horrible, but at the same time, like, they were so okay with it, like the whole town. And they were like so ready to just be like, okay, well, let's move somewhere else so we can continue to basically murder people in the, to like choose, play God. That's what they were doing. They were playing God. They were saying, oh, you deserve to live, so I will kill this person instead so you can survive. Like, oh, horrible people. But yeah, part of me was kind of here for it. Even though like they were warning against it. But yeah, I really wish it was a series. Like 100%. Also, yeah. Yeah. Like, same for sure. Yeah, I do feel a little bad, but not 100% because they were awful. And then I guess I'm just like running through this book so quick. We're probably gonna end here pretty quickly, but then we had, like, obviously, since he had no intention of changing. And here's the thing, like, to some degree, I understand the idea of being like, well, I can heal people, I can save people or whatever, and being like, oh, and therefore me living can help other people live or whatever, even though his whole thing wasn't really saving people, right? It was him choosing whether or not one person should die over somebody else, so it's not the same. But I vaguely understand that idea. But to then also go out of your, like, be reckless, like, and it was even pointed out that he was that way after the fact, after getting into an accident and almost dying and then killing somebody in his place. He continued to be reckless, right? He would continue to drink a bunch, continue to drive recklessly, like he did not care. And that was like, oh, like, I'm so glad she took him to the underworld. I'm so glad. And I was so scared that like Kirby wasn't gonna come back. I was glad that her dad got her another dog. And then Kirby came back and I was like, yay, they can have like a cute little family. And that's so like, man, I really love this book. That being said, although we did talk about a lot. And again, thank you everybody here. I will say a part of me was kind of all like, I don't know if like this is the best book club discussion book, because I feel like part of it was just like really straightforward. It had a lot of really fun elements and I really enjoyed it. And there were some parts that I guess, questions or that you want more from, but like really I'm just like, I want a continuation of this series. But I don't know, I felt like it was very straightforward. So there's not like a lot of like philosophical questions or, like deep thoughts to get from it. I feel like it was a pretty feel-good book, despite it actually talking about some pretty intense topics. I don't know. This is something that has also come up with me a lot lately. So I'd love to hear people's thoughts because like I read another book. I guess, oh no, I do not have it with me right now. I have the sequel. Ugh. But I read The Conductors recently by Nicole Glover, and this another mystery like Elatsoe. Maybe I should put the cover back on. Here I am just like holding the naked hard cover, and not everybody is probably going to be aware. I mean, you guys know what we're talking about though. But like Elatsoe, this other book had this like cozy mystery vibe. And like Elatsoe, this book also, not this one, I haven't read this one yet, but the first book in the series also had
how to choose the right audio apps for you.
Wow, that scared me so bad. Series just started. Oh, that scared the crap out of me. It was just series. But this other book as well. Not this one though. I'm like trying, just in case people keep coming in and I'm just like, anyway, I'm sorry. Had serious topics. And then part of me is all like, does that make it not a cozy mystery? Like, because this talk, but I mean, like, it's death. Death is still a part of a cozy mystery, but it had that vibe. Do people think it's a cozy mystery? Okay, so I read this book last year and I really enjoyed it, but it's strange because I enjoyed it more in retrospect than when I was reading it. Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like at first, when granted, I listened to it today and I knew I had to read it for this, so like I like flew through it. But I think at first it took me a little bit of a second to get into it. Like, but then again, I was also like surprised because I wasn't expecting it to be a mystery, right? And then I started getting into it. And then we say, what book is that? I'm assuming you're talking about The Undertakers. This is the sequel to The Conductors, and it is a magical fantasy about it's supposed to be like around the Underground Railroad, but not necessarily. It's characters who participated in freeing some slaves before slavery was abolished, and they have this like whole mystery thing. So somebody dies around them and they're trying to solve it. And I don't know about this one, but the first book, which is way over there, so I can't grab it to show you. So it obviously there's like some slavery, there's a situation where they're saving people right in the front, and there's murder and dealing with all of the stuff, but it still had a very cozy mystery vibe. And then we have our character, she's her cousin was murdered, she's trying to figure all of this stuff out, she's dealing with racism in her life and stuff like that. But it still has a cozy mystery vibe, or else that's what I'm thinking. So like part of me wants to know your thoughts, because I keep wanting to say that and then being all like, am I wrong? I don't know cozy mysteries. Okay, I thought I read more like a middle grade than a YA. That's a good point. And for some reason, I expected it to have a winter vibe. Yes. Rather than a summer. Yes. It's funny because I didn't even think about that when I was reading it today, but I tried to put this on a TBR specifically for winter feels, because it looks like it would be a winter, not even just because of the ghost dogs having that kind of like almost looking like snow, but she looks like she's wearing like a winter coat or an autumn coat, something if we're colder weather. So I'm 100% with you on that one, 100%. But yeah, so that I think is all of the big things to cover. Normally I try and make this about an hour long. Is that it? Oh no, I don't. I keep everything that I want to like show you guys is a little bit out of my reach. Oh, and then middle grade. I do think, okay, thinking about that, this reminded me of, although it's not POC, unfortunately, but I do really like the series, V.E. Schwab's City of Bone, which is also, I think it's actually a middle grade. And she also deals with ghosts and has like a ghost companion. Ooh, sorry. And it's a mystery. Really liked it. That one was actually middle grade, and I kept thinking about it while I was reading this. So I'm 100% with you on those vibes, even though I think she's supposed to be 17 or like 19, but I think it was 17. She's like driving and stuff, but it felt young. It really did feel young, but surprisingly, I didn't mind it. Just like I also really love that other series as well, even though it has some of the tropes that I'm not a big fan of. Okay, let's see if I can do this without looking crazy on camera, but it's right over here. Ugh. Okay, so our current read, so for February, March, the next POC book is Body and Soul Food by Abby Collette. We will have a live show February, March, in April. I had to count it. But we'll have a live show for this in April. This also does have a sequel, which I'm hoping to read at some point as well. Soul of a Killer. As far as I'm aware, this is a cozy mystery, another cozy mystery. This wasn't intentional. This just happened to turn out to be a cozy mystery. But this one's a cozy mystery about two siblings who are opening up a soul food restaurant, I believe, and they end up somehow solving mysteries. I don't know if just like somebody ends up dead around them and then they have to solve the mystery, and then they keep doing it. But this one is a series already. So really excited. I hope you guys join for that one. And then I do have the video for the other ones. It's not yet finished, but it will be soon, have a page on my website that talks about the books for the POC book club and also my bestie book clubs for people who are interested in figuring out what we're on, when's the next thing, live shows and stuff like that. So I'm currently in the process of making that, and I will link that in the description once it's ready. It's at TatianaVolk.com. So first last name.com. So then we have, I think cozy mystery is subjective. I would definitely put okay. I'm okay. Yes. I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to ask, because I don't feel like I necessarily read a bunch of cozy mysteries, but like it is a thing and there are like rules behind it, but it just felt that way. I am glad at least I'm not the only one who felt that it had cozy mystery vibes. But yeah, thank you so much again to everybody hanging out with me. This was a lot of fun. I love doing these live shows, especially being able to hang out. I know a lot of people were able to pop in and pop out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, got some fun content. I would love to, I guess, see you with some future bucks. I'm going to be doing a ton, not a ton, maybe several reading vlogs for February. I'm going to be reading all Black authors, which is one of the reasons why we are doing the Elatsoe live show now instead of next month when it was originally supposed to happen. So stay tuned for that if you're interested. Ooh, no, it looks like I'm having connections problems right when I'm trying to say goodbye. My internet's like, nah, you're taking too long. But yeah, thank you. Oh, the lights. Oh my goodness. I'm a mess. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. It was a lot of fun. I would love, again, to hear your thoughts, those of you in the future, what you thought about the book, all of that stuff. And I guess I will catch you guys in the next one. Until then, bye.